Come on. There you go. Eat your bone. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I am Britt, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should, because I may or may not talk about geeky things anymore. We're still working on it. So upon filming this, it is this guy's first birthday, and he's still so tiny compared to Cosmo. Today we're going to do an update on how Apollo is at 1 year. So you're seeing this on Thursday, but as of March 22nd, 2022, this guy is 1 year old. And it's kind of crazy because it doesn't feel like it should have been a year already. Like, granted, I haven't had him for a year. In 8 weeks, I will have had him for a year. But still, like, it's, for all intents and purposes, been a year. And it just doesn't feel like a year has passed already. It's just kind of wild. But yeah, so he is an incredible dog. Obviously, he's helped me through one of the biggest traumas of my life, which was having to put Cosmo down last December. So that was tough. But yeah, so let's break down Apollo's personality as he chews on this bone right next to me. That's his birthday present. He also had wild cuts this morning, and he also will be getting frozen food essentially for dinner, so he's gonna be eating really well today. But yeah, so Apollo was born March 22nd of 2021, and he was in a litter of 6 puppies. Were in that litter with 1 girl, 5 boys, 1 girl, and he was born in Iowa, which is, I think, hilarious because Cosmo was born in Wisconsin. And so I'm probably just gonna get the next dog from South Dakota and just go clockwise around the state, and not actually get a dog from within the Minnesota border. But yeah, so he came home in 8 weeks, and he was very similar to Cosmo when he was very young. Cosmo and him were both very similar, but he is like the exact opposite from Cosmo. Genuinely the exact opposite from Cosmo. Which honestly I'm kind of happy about, because it would be a lot harder to have a dog that would be a lot like Cosmo now that Cosmo's gone. But yeah, basically everything Cosmo was, he's the opposite. So the only thing that really is the same is he doesn't like being outside by himself for too long, just like Cosmo didn't like being outside by himself at all. Which I thought might have actually not happened with Apollo, just because when Cosmo was young, we lived in an apartment, so I had to actually like take him out every potty break. He had to go outside. Like this one, he's been able to go outside by himself for a few months now. I think about 6 months is probably when I first started letting him go out completely by himself. And but he still is very much, but I think that's just a Golden thing. I think Golden just like to be with their family, like to be with their humans. And so that's very much him. Cosmo hated cuddling. Cosmo usually sat right here on the couch. I've been sitting here recently. Actually, I started sitting here before Cosmo actually passed, for a few reasons. One, I don't really love having the chase on my couch. So sitting over there can sometimes be really uncomfortable. I mean, it's comfortable, but like trying to get up can be really uncomfortable. But also because I didn't want Apollo to sit here. Like, this was Cosmo's spot, so I was protecting it from him. And so now I sit here primarily. The only time I ever sit over there anymore is when my mom comes down and she sits here. But so Cosmo used to sit here when I sat on the other side of the couch on the chase, and Cosmo didn't like being touched. Like, if he was resting, if he was like relaxing, being himself, like, he did not like being touched, even like a little. I mean, he liked being pat, he liked being scratched, but if he was resting or something, he didn't like to cuddle. He didn't like to just sit and cuddle. This one, as you can see, likes to be touching me at all times. So there's that. This one also hasn't been able to be free. I've let him free for like quick little things where I've gone upstairs for a little bit or something like that, but for the most part he's not been able to be free alone or with me being unconscious, so sleeping, yet. And Cosmo started at like 10 months, I think, being out on his own around the house at night. He did cause damage during that time, but not a ton. This one I fear would cause a lot of damage. This one is still very destructive, and I've actually turned this couch cushion right here over because he was getting, like, he would chew on stuff on this couch and he would get some of the threads in his teeth, so he wasn't actively chewing up the couch, but he would inevitably start chewing it up. But he's been trying to chew up the carpet since he was a little tiny puppy. He started over by my kitchen over here, and then over by the door over here, and now he's doing it in the hallway here. I replaced my rug here. You'll see that on my vlogging channel if you go to my vlogging channel. I replaced my rug for a few reasons. One, that rug was just getting to be so disgusting. I couldn't even get it clean anymore. It was so gross. But also because I wanted to start kind of changing the way things looked down here, just so that I could start developing new memories and kind of get over or move past the grief of losing Cosmo. And then the other reason was this one decided that chewing up the rug was a great idea, so that rug also just was kind of tattered and torn. So I did get a new rug and things. So he's still very, very destructive. Even at a year old, he is still just very, very destructive. And I think that's based on the fact that Cosmo's breeding was more show dog based, where this one's breeding was more hunter based. So he's just very much in that hunter mindset. So I think that's the big difference between the two. He is potty trained, but he still has accidents in the house. He actually had one earlier today, but he was able to stop and get outside for it. But yeah, he is completely potty trained at this point. I can fully believe that. He has accidents as crate every once in a while, which is really weird, but that happens sometimes. He likes his big bones. But yeah, so there are some serious differences between Cosmo and him. Cosmo is even destructive well into his adulthood, only just with his own toys. So I would get him a toy and he would rip the toy and then he would tear out the stuffing. That was Cosmo's big thing. But he wasn't destructive towards anything else. Like, he wouldn't try to destroy my stuff, but this one doesn't seem to really care too much. But yeah, essentially anything that Cosmo was, this one is just completely the opposite. He's also a lot smaller than Cosmo was. Sometimes it's really hard for me to understand that he's a normal sized golden retriever because Cosmo was just such a big dog. And, but he's about 55 pounds roughly. He still has some filling out to do, but he's probably as tall as he's ever going to be. You're just going to be over there now? You don't want to be on camera anymore? All right. He has some filling out to do, but he's pretty much as tall as he's ever going to be, which just, again, just feels so weird because he's so much smaller than Cosmo was. And not that that's a bad thing, but like, I guess I never understood exactly how small Goldens were because my only experience with Goldens, like not as a child, was Cosmo. And so that's really my only experience with Goldens as an adult, and having Cosmo be such a big dog. Now granted, I have heard multiple people in my life say that Cosmo is the biggest golden retriever they'd ever seen. I actually talked about that with my sister and her mother-in-law and my mom this weekend when we were at this hotel celebrating my sister's birthday. And I was like, I'm starting to think that Cosmo was just that big. And Melissa looked at me, and it's my sister, Melissa looked at me and she goes, yeah, he was a big golden. Like, he was the biggest golden I had ever seen in my life. And it just feels weird that Apollo is so much smaller and just feels like a miniature dog. Like, he just doesn't feel like a regular sized golden. But I have measured him many times and he does come out as a regular sized golden. He's on the short end or small end of average, and Cosmo was on the big end of average. So he was just a really big golden. And so yeah, they are just stark differences in any kind of personality. This one hates cats, so Nova and him get along great. He chases her, he tries to like play with her. I don't think he's trying to hurt her, but I do think that he's trying to play with her. I think it's also his prey drive kind of kicking in a lot. when he is going after her and things. He's very curious. He loves people. He loves other dogs. As a matter of fact, what I think is really funny is another like big difference between the two is this weekend I went and stayed in a hotel with some family to celebrate my sister's birthday. And I dropped him off at a Pets Hotel, which I realized I didn't actually have to because that hotel apparently allows dogs. So I could have actually had him stay in our hotel room with us, and the kids, the twin girls, my twin nieces, were staying with me in my hotel room just because my sister has like 600 children. So if I can take a couple of the older ones, I will usually. That's not true. She has 4, but for somebody who doesn't want kids, may as well be 600. But they would have loved to have him cuddle in bed with them. Like he would have loved it. They would have loved it. See, now I feel weird about the framing because the framing was intended to be with Apollo in frame, but Apollo apparently is deciding to channel Cosmo and go to the other side of the couch. So there's that. But yeah, so when I dropped Cosmo off at the Pets Hotel, when I would drop him off when we go to Disney World or whatever, right? I would drop him off at the Pets Hotel and he would be so distraught. Like he wouldn't want to go with the people. He was just like really scared, didn't like being left behind by me. He didn't like seeing me leave, anything like that. This one was like, bye. He didn't care. He genuinely did not care if he never saw me again, it seemed. Which I know is not true. I'm sure he would have missed me if I never came home. But there's that. And then when I got back to go pick him up, they would say, now Cosmo usually was like, he was kind of shy around the other dogs. Like he didn't really like to play with the other dogs, but he really loved to play with like the people. And so he was like everybody's favorite because he really wanted just to play with them. This one was like, they told me he was shy around people, but loved playing with other dogs. And I'm like, why is he so different than Cosmo? Like just, like I said, like literally anything that Cosmo was, this one's different. And it's just so weird. I was actually just talking with a friend because I went to Petco. We went to Petco together to get him his bone and get him his dinner. But I went to the Petco that I used to work at in hopes that somebody that I worked with still was there, which I know one still works there, actively works there from when I worked there. He's one of my closest friends. He's like my little brother. But he was my direct employee. And so I like to go see him. And I didn't know if he was working today. I didn't text him beforehand, but he was working today. So I was able to see him. And I don't remember where I was going with that. There was a reason I was bringing this up. I do not remember what it is. And this is still way too hot for me to actually drink. There was a reason that I brought that up. Oh well, hopefully I will remember it at some point. There was a reason. Anyway. But yeah, so they're just very, very different dogs. I was talking about that with a friend. Shoot. What the hell did Alex and I talk about? I don't remember. It is genuinely just gone. Anyway. I don't know. So yeah, so we got back from the Pets Hotel and I was told that he was nervous around people, but he was super good about animals, about the other animals in the day camp. And I just thought that was really weird because one, he really likes people, but maybe because I wasn't with him, maybe he was just less into it. I don't know. But yeah, so he is just completely and utterly different from Cosmo. It's just really weird. Oh, that's what it was. I remember now. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. So I was telling my friend that it's so nice over the last, now 3 months since Cosmo's passed. Almost 3 months since Cosmo's passed. And I don't have to worry about grain-free anymore. Like, that has been, mind you, I would gladly buy anything grain-free again if it meant that I could have Cosmo back in my life, obviously. But The one thing that has been kind of nice is not having to pay more for grain-free items. I don't have to like diligently look at the ingredients anymore. I still look at the ingredients, but I don't have to like study them as hard as I used to have to study them to make sure that everything was actually grain-free and things like that. Because the packaging can say whatever, but that doesn't mean it's grain-free. And you know, that was one thing that was really nice. And I also don't get weird judgmental looks anymore from people who are like, you do realize grain-free food is bad for dogs? I'm like, yes, I do understand that grain-free food is bad for dogs, especially golden retrievers. But Cosmo needed grain-free food. So like, it is what it is. And yes, he did die from a heart complication, but that was not caused by the grain-free food. That was caused from a tumor. So that was not caused by the food. But yeah, so they are just very, very different dogs. He is very outgoing. He loves going on walks. I can still say that at this point without him getting excited. So that's a benefit. We only just started really going on real walks this spring. And the reason for that was because I have such a big fenced in backyard that when he was little, I just would take him on walks around the backyard. Cause it's like a half acre back there. And not only that, but because of Cosmo's kind of slowing down, it was just easier for us to take those walks around the yard instead of making Cosmo do big walks. And even though I could do big walks with him, I just didn't want Cosmo, because that was one of Cosmo's favorite things to do. And I just didn't want Cosmo to feel abandoned or replaced or anything like that. So I just opted to take them both on little walks around the backyard. And I would do leash training with him in the front yard, but this was the true like start of leash training. That was the one thing that was really surprising between him and Cosmo too that were different, was Cosmo genuinely didn't, I just spilled tea on me. Cosmo genuinely did not know how to walk on a leash when I first got him. This one did. So I just thought that was kind of interesting because I always thought that it was a natural thing that dogs just knew, because like Jack knew how to walk on a leash. Careful, bud. Jack knew how to walk on a leash. That was the Siberian Husky that I grew up with. And Dakota knew how to walk on a leash. Oh gosh. Be careful, bud. Let's not spill everything. But Cosmo didn't know how, so Dakota, the German Shepherd I grew up with, he also knew how to walk on a leash. Cosmo really didn't take to leash walking right away. It took him a couple of weeks to really get it down that when he was attached to this leash that he was supposed to walk with me. This one, again, he knew the day I picked him up that being on a leash, he could just walk around and do whatever he needed to do. This is making me nervous. There we go. So yeah, so things are just very, very different between the two. And it's so interesting. We've gone through 2 training classes so far. We are going to do a 3rd. And then we're going to start working on agility, Cgc, and therapy training. If you guys don't know what Cgc is, Cgc stands for Canine Good Citizenship. And in order for dogs to be able to be certified as therapy dogs, they have to go through Cgc training. Basically, there's different key points they have to hit. They have to be able to stay calm when approached by another dog. They have to, or another person. They have to be good at being groomed. They have to do all of these different things. So there are just some important qualifications that do come with Cgc training. And the trainer that I use, which is one of the trainers at my old Petco, he is a Cgc certified Cgc trainer. So he and I are going to kind of work on that a little bit, and hopefully we'll get him Cgc certified by 2, and then he can do therapy training after that. So that'll be good. But agility training I think will really be beneficial for him, because one thing that I've learned about him specifically is that he needs to always be stimulated. So you'll notice I tend to, for toys, be bones, things that he can chew on, things that he can really just gnaw on, and things that he can't completely destroy. that helps keep his brain stimulated enough. And he's got a lot of puzzle toys and things like that so that he can just stay stimulated. And I think that agility training will be very stimulating for his brain. We have an agility set, and I've already worked on a couple of things with him. Very basic things that I've worked on with him. He can go through the tunnel okay, all that kind of stuff. But he, I think once we actually start the agility training, I think he's going to change drastically, because I think that with him stimulating his brain so much, he'll be able to be calmer at home, which is really, really crucial. But yeah, so that's essentially Apollo right now, as he is at 1 year. And he's a really good dog. He's really smart. And he's honestly a really good dog. For a while I thought he was not going to be, because he's so smart that I was worried that he was even one of those dogs that knows he's smart and knows how to manipulate and things like that. That was one of my biggest fears when I realized just how smart he was, because he was so defiant for a little while. He did go through kind of a terrible twos or an angsty teenager kind of attitude at about 6 months. He was very like, you want me to do a thing, but I don't really want to do it, so deal with it. That was kind of his attitude towards me and towards anybody, basically. And like, especially Cosmo would get so cranky at him. Cosmo was just a cranky old man. Like, that's, at the end of the day, that's just what Cosmo was. He was a cranky old man at the end. But he would be the biggest disciplinary when it came to Apollo. Like, he's like, I'm not gonna let you just mess around. Like, you're gonna behave. So Apollo would do something and Cosmo would nip at him and bark and growl. And so I'm sure Apollo does not miss that at all. But Cosmo was his biggest disciplinary. But that was just a phase, and he got out of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because I've never repeated a dog before, like a dog breed before. Because look, when I was a kid, we had a Siberian Husky. He died prematurely from being hit by a car. He got out of his kennel one night, and he got hit by a car, and he passed. And then we got Dakota, and Dakota was a German Shepherd. And then as an adult, I got Cosmo, this golden retriever. And now, granted, I know that every dog is different, just like every human is different. He just dropped his bone on the floor. Every dog is different, just like every human is different. Personalities are... Well, that's what happened. I'm glad I was holding my tea. That's what happens. But I was at least expecting their personalities to be somewhat the same. He's just gonna do it down there because he's too afraid to grab it now. Let me fix it. I always thought that like their personalities would at least be somewhat the same because they're the same breed. But I kind of forgot that Cosmo's breeding really came from show quality. And so, of course, he was going to be more demure. He was going to be more calm. He was going to be, more laid back. This one has a hunting personality. I mean, literally, his breeder wasn't technically even a breeder. He was AKC. He's AKC registered. The kennel was AKC certified. But at the same time, he's not really a breeder. He has 2 females that he hunts with, and he breeds them every once in a while. Like, it's not even like a regular thing that he does. And I texted him today a picture of Apollo and let him know kind of an update, and he was very thankful. He likes staying up to date with the puppies that he does breed out because, again, he doesn't do it very often. It's not like, his mother's already pregnant again or anything. As far as I know, she's not. And so it's just something he does every once in a while. And so, like, he literally came from a hunting dog. Like, literally a hunting dog. So I get that his personality is very, very different, but it'll be interesting. It's just been interesting over the last almost year now to learn that even within the same breed, that personalities can be just vastly, vastly different. I'm very thankful for him because he did help me through, obviously, Cosmo's death. And the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting was when he, when Cosmo was still alive. I was so concerned about Cosmo and where Cosmo was and how Cosmo was doing and making sure that the puppy wasn't bugging him and things like that. That I don't think I ever really bonded with Apollo the way that I should have initially. And now that Cosmo is gone, I feel like because he's, I mean, aside from Nova, obviously, which I'm already bonded to, aside from that, you know, I've actually been able to finally bond with him because he's the only dog in the house now. And so I feel bad that, you know, he spent a good portion of his puppyhood. I mean, maybe he didn't notice it. I hope he didn't notice it. But, like, I did. After Cosmo passed, I started to finally bond with him. I was like, I never really bonded with him the way that I should have. And now we are very bonded. We're very close. He's a sweetheart. He's my baby. And I'm glad that I was able to eventually bond with him. But at the same time, like, it does make me sad that I never truly bonded with him until after Cosmo passed away. And that just kind of makes me sad, you know? He deserved to be bonded with a little bit quicker than that, but hopefully he didn't notice, because I've always loved him. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, big shocker, I didn't love him until Cosmo died. That's not true. I loved him very much, but I just didn't bond with him. Like, I didn't have the same, like, closeness with him that I do now. And so yeah, I mean, it's been fun getting to know his personality, and now that we've officially bonded too, it just feels even better. So that is Apollo at 6 months, at 1 year. Apollo at 1 year. He is crazy, and I love him to pieces. He's incredibly destructive. He's tiny compared to Cosmo, but he is very smart, and he is also, the other thing that's really different is that Cosmo is very vocal. This one's not very vocal. If he's separated from me and he needs me, he'll bark. But he doesn't bark or growl like Cosmo did. Only when he's playing does he growl. And barking, again, he only does when he needs my attention and I'm not in the same room as him. And so that's one of the big things too that's very different. So I don't know if I'll ever get him to speak on command like I was able to do with Cosmo, but that's okay too. But it's also kind of funny because he's so quiet, you know, like Cosmo would growl. We called it growl talking, because he'd walk up to you and go like he would be like talking to you, like trying to actually like communicate. And so I would communicate back. I would go, oh, really? Or that's interesting. That's an interesting thought. You know, I would try to like validate what he was trying to say and talk back at him. This one doesn't do that. This one communicates in a very different way. So if he has to go potty, so if Cosmo had to go potty, he had a very specific whine. He would come up to me, he would have this very specific whine, and that's all he would do, is he would stand like in as close to in my face as he could, and he'd, and it's the only whine he would have. It's the only whine he would have if he would go potty. So I knew his potty whine. This one will just kind of run in circles and then run to the door, and then come back, run in circles, and then run to the door. So again, he doesn't communicate vocally, he communicates with body language, which I think is really interesting and probably more dog-like, and especially more golden retriever-like. Because everything I ever read about golden retrievers, they're always like, they don't communicate through vocalizations unless they absolutely have to. Cosmo was so vocal. He communicated through vocalizations all the time. If he needed me to wake up, he had a specific growl. If he wanted me to move, he had a specific growl. Like I knew I was fluent in Cosmo. And I'm becoming fluent in Apollo, but it's not vocalization that he communicates in, which I think is really interesting. And but yeah, so that's Apollo at 1 year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. If you guys want to see his 6-month update, you guys can click right here. Otherwise, over on this side, you guys can click to watch the day I brought Apollo home. You can click here to subscribe to my vlogging channel. I will start eventually vlogging more. I'm actually, oddly enough, vlogging more on TikTok. So if you guys want to follow my everyday life, you guys can go watch my TikTok. That's always linked below. Click here to subscribe to my main channel. There will be a new video every single Thursday. As long as I continue to think of ideas, I may end up taking a break. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. But I am running out of ideas, and I do feel kind of burned out from YouTube, and so I might start, I might change from Thursday, like scripted, this isn't scripted, but kind of more scripted or topical video, and I might start doing some streaming. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't quite decided how I wanna go about my YouTube channel just yet. But if you guys have any questions about Apollo, please leave them below. If you have any questions about any of my animals, leave them below, and I would love to do a Q&A about my animals at some point. Give me some ideas down in the comments below as well. We can certainly use some more ideas, whether it's animal related, cooking related, lifestyle in general related, or geeky related, let me know. Anyway, that is the end of this video. That's another thing he really likes. He likes to be in your face. Most dogs don't like eye contact or being in faces. He's really good. He really likes face to face. So anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the bell for notifications on all my channels so you don't miss a single one of my videos, and I will see you all next time. Bye!